Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Space Lounge. Hi, everyone. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking here in the digital media world. So glad to be hosting this special evening session of DYOR Live, powered by the Space Lounge. I know it's a cheesy marketing name, powered by, but I like using it anyway. We're so glad that you guys are all joining us tonight. We've got a special guest in the house, former co-host of the show and current special guest tonight. Carmen Crypto is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. She'll be talking all of the cool subjects with us tonight and getting into it with Pedro and I. I will not be drinking martinis tonight. I did the other night and might have gone on a little too long with that. But anyway, we welcome everybody to the Space Lounge for this event. A lot of stuff going on today. Our show was all about about the markets. It was Technical Tuesday, but the important topic of the day was the $5 billion that Michael Saylor had pumped into Bitcoin recently. We brought up some questions. Is he lending that out? Is he creating a leverage bubble? There's all kinds of things going on with that, but it was a good show. I suggest all of you go back in your spare time and watch the afternoon show if you hadn't. Welcome to all of our viewers on Rumble, on Twitch and Kick, and of course on YouTube as well. With that being said, now is the time I'd like to introduce my co-hosts for the show in the Space Lounge here. That would be Carmen and Pedro. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Carmen. Welcome, Pedro. I can take my cheesy glasses off now.
What do I do with these? What do I do with these? I don't know what to do with these, dude. They're just in my way. I feel like it's like, I don't even know, man. Like, I just want to talk with them, but then you can't. So I just need someone to kind of push them down. Just push them down. Just push them down, dude. Okay, there we go. And then they come up. See, I can't. What do I do with them? What's up, Tom? How you doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, my co-host, Carmen Crypto here to my right. And across the bay here, the Space Lounge Bay or whatever it is, of course, you all know Pedro Garcia, co-host and crypto chart analyst, and the man who called the market exactly right today. Amazing thing. But I didn't follow him. I got busy. I got programming the show. Then had a few might have had to have a small nap, and then. Got ready for the show, and I didn't get into the market where you said it was going to come down to and all that. Carmen, how you doing?
Good evening, Chumbalons. I get to say it on a live stream instead of being up in the chat. It feels good to be back with you guys. I think we were talking earlier, Pedro, this might be the first time we're streaming together on video. I think we've done audio together, so it's an event.
We have.
It's an event tonight.
Yes.
And the way that Tom has set up the Space Lounge for Space Cadets, I feel like I'm at the head of the table. It's definitely special guest vibes here.
Special guest spot here to the host.
Yes.
Right. Oh, and I got two hands.
You got two arms, bro.
2 hands, dude. That was a trip.
Got to turn
we
that.
just went all crazy. Hey, how you doing over there? And how you doing over there?
Yeah, I'll just beam over there.
Over there? Nope. We want to go there. Yep.
Crypto Mike in the house. What's up? What's up, my people? Thanks for joining us. Crypto Mike, all the way from Winnipeg.
Brother. So, what up, brother?
All right, Pedro. Before we get into the news events and all the things we want to talk about tonight,
Absolutely.
I know you've got a long list of things that are going to come up, and of course we want to catch up on what Carmen is doing tonight. Doing in real life, as they say. But first, let's hit BTC and what's going on with that.
Excellent. All right, guys. So we've actually talked about this quite a bit, right? I told you guys don't trip. Expect we're going to see a couple things, right? And we did. We from last night. If you go and we check out the show, we talked about the market, right? And I'm gonna go into this here real quick. Around this time last night, a lot of our viewers here over on Rumble. Good to have every one of you guys. First of all, please hit the like, share button, and at the same time, share it to your preferred social media and on social media and your ones that you don't like. Yes. All right. So please do that while we do that. And then I will go over here real quick what happened from last night to tonight. So last night we opened up and I said, if we want to see the market go up, right, we should see the market go. If we're going to see it go up, it will, because we're in a bull run. We want to see it go up, then down, then up is what we were going to see, right? And so we can sit there and we can look at this. The market went down, first of all, right here, just small little up, created the demand wick. Then we came back up. We went up, And then into the morning session, we dropped. You can see right here from the morning session. And then we saw it go up into our zone. So it's exactly what we expected to see from last night, right? Then in addition to it, Tom, my brother right next to me, took advantage of this trade, didn't get the majority, didn't get the big part, but did get a piece of it, which was the drop here into the rise up. Then right here, the market drops first thing in the morning. We see it go down into the open, and then we see it come up. Now, this was during our show, right? I talked about us coming up into the all-time high. And I said, we most likely, if this thing is really being ran by the institutions, this is how it's going to get played, right? And so I said, this is how they'll play it. And one of the things I said, it's going to come up just above the all-time high. We will see it consolidate. Then we'll see it come back down into the base area right here. And I said we could see it two places. We can see at the base of the morning session, or we see it come back down to this 88.44 area. Again, this is not a negative thing. This is a potential good thing because this means that the institutions are truly in it and they're in it to win it for everyone. So it's really important as we look into this market, the full scope that we're going to see. So let's go ahead and check it out here real quick. Now, where is it going to go? The market is going down first in the evening, which is what we want, right? This is a good sign of them saying if we go down in the beginning, we go down. And if we go down into the Asian, Australian, and London market, expect to see it bounce off a demand zone, which is going to most likely be down in these lower levels. Don't get freaked out thinking, oh no, it's the end of the world. Sell my Bitcoin, sell everything. The world is falling. Chicken Little's coming. Oh, right. No, we don't need to worry about that. What we need to worry about is where we're going to get long in, right? Where we're going to hit that bid buy. Okay. The bid is the buy. We all know that. And so I'm looking at a few areas here. One simply is this 88.44 area and the 87 754. These are important areas simply because we've already tried to tap it and we weren't able to. We came up, we tapped, we got it into the highs here, and then now we're kind of coming down. That's one area we can play off of, okay? The other part I'm expecting it is also this midsection right here. And welcome. Oh, there we go. Boom. Sorry, my eye just went totally like squirrel. Sorry about that, guys. Squirrel. All right. The other one right here is going to be that it's going to be a daily 8, and that's this area right here, that 90 area, which is going to be at the lows here, right? So we talked about this. Now we're going to talk about this area here. This area should act as some form of resistance here. Okay, and the primary reason why I think it's going to act resistance, support, is literally because it's where we're seeing a confluence of zones being established. And so I'm seeing order sitting at these levels here around that 90,000 to 90,500 to the 90,427. And this area here is a pretty simple trading area. We're just simply going to go long at that 95.35, and below is our stop is going to be 90,427 area. This is BTC USD chart, okay, that we're going to be looking at. If we come down in here, we should see a good little consolidation. And additionally to that, this 200 period moving average on this daily, or excuse me, not daily, but on the hourly chart needs to get up into this level here. So we should see it get up to here. If this starts to come down, we might see it stagnate. But if this consolidates, which should kind of look like this, kind of come down in here, consolidates, hit right here, consolidate, and then come down to here. Okay, and this would be in the morning. This is where we would see it. Okay, and then in the morning, what we're going to see most likely, if this happens, we should see something like this. Boom, boom, pop, pop, boom, boom, crack. And then most likely hit new all-time highs again. All right, so let me show that again. We have a couple of options. We have this option here. Pop. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do like this. Boom. Pop. Consolidate. Boom. Drop. Kind of go up because this is going to hit this area where the 200 period moving average is. This right here. Here's the other one. pop, dun, 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 pop, dun, 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 come down, boom, boom, boom. And it most likely will be a screaming up when we see that. So those are kind of.
Let's remember that. Let's remember Pedro's called the screaming up.
Screaming about like that. Boom.
Ooh, I am
boom,
shiny
boom,
today.
boom, boom.
Woo!
And this is the reason why. It's because there are buyers sitting right in these lower levels here that we could potentially hit, and we want to see it go up. And then before you know it, we have a giant moon.
Where's Jesus when we need
bag.
him? Moon.
Moon bag. Moon bag. Moon bag. All right, there we are. Okay. So also, we also want to talk about one other thing here. And the other one is going to be the Solana trade we were talking about, right? We're coming up into a couple areas here, and we can see here that it's starting to follow through on this. We came up into our supply area here, and we're coming down into that 30, or excuse me, the 231 area to the 229 area. This potentially is a good area for us to take part in. We did fall through. We talked about this area being kind of like the area of kind of last resort right here before it falls through. We can see we fell through, found resistance off of the 8. Now we're coming back down into this level. So tonight, as we come into these areas here, it's really important to pay attention to this trade. Hopefully you guys made some good money on this, okay? As we've come down into this area, we want to see it consolidate, okay, with rising green volume. If we do not see rising green volume, then it's all for naught. We want to see something like this, right? We want to see where it starts to get green as we. What's up?
Yeah, that's a good question. In your scenarios that you were talking about earlier, when you're drawing the moon, the volume has to be doing this too?
Yes, good point. Yes, that's exactly what. Thank you very much. Not so much for Bitcoin because there's so much volume, or there's so much. Bitcoin has eluded me on the volume situation a couple times now, as we all know, and it's kind of played me as a rope-a-dope sometimes. So Bitcoin could potentially, if Michael Saylor decides to drop in a few billion, it's just going to go, and I'm not going to be able to stop the man. Sooner or later, his billions will sooner or later have I want to say not a negative impact, but it will be at a point where it will be negligent because it'll take so much more money to really push this market up. And so that's the biggest issue. And I think the institutions are going to come in and step in on the other side and absorb a lot of his play and then see it go against them. We've seen this already in the past, right? Where they've done that. But I think right now they want to see it, let it run a little, simply because those ETFs need to look good at the end of the quarter, right? It's going to be their first real quarter here of that ETF, and where they're going to be able to sit there and spotlight, look, people, our people who bought down here did really, really well. Why don't you get in so you don't miss this next era of new investment opportunities, right? So this is one of the things we potentially could see. On the back end, though, I think as we start to progress and he starts to lose impact, we very much could see, I hate to say it, the Saylor experience be for lack of a better word, just a liquidity pool for them to actually take advantage of. So, and we've seen that in the past with them. So it just all depends on what they're going to play.
Gotcha.
With that. But on the current Solana trade here, we're coming down into this level here. We potentially could see this go sideways here and then pop up again. Or we see this come down into this area because it's already been traded through. Okay, right here, boom, top, kind of come back down.
Welcome, Troublesome Creek, to the show, to the evening session from the Space Lounge.
Right, we tap right here and we kind of come down and potentially even bounce off of here. Or the other one is coming down, bounce, tap, bounce, boom, pop. So these are just some of the areas. And all my friends who are in Solana right now, are we on Twitter right now?
We are.
Nice. All my boys over. That's all good. All the guys on Shogun, like the guys in Shogun, the guys over who are trading these meme coins, man, just make sure that you guys are ready to be able to take part of the profit that you guys are making. Hopefully this doesn't affect your meme coins and it sends to the moon. But if it is, just take a bit of a profit so you can buy in at lower rates. Alrighty then. How you guys doing today? Things are well?
It's a Tuesday, Pedro. What can we expect? We have already missed Martini Mondays with Tom yesterday. We got over with Technical Tuesday this morning. So we gotta ease our way into Hump Day. So
I'm all about easing.
Hey, Carmen, on your road thing, can you turn up your gain a little bit on your mic?
Tom, we don't know what buttons to press to get there.
Is there a mic volume button?
I think if we go down that road, we may completely lose all of it.
All right, let me see if I can do it from my end.
Here we go. I'm about to attack this water here. Pardon me.
It's Pedro's signature check. Anyway, Carmen, give the old. I think I boosted your audio a little bit here.
Oh, yes.
We need to get the gains. Carmen needs more gains.
I think. Did someone ever give you the concept of the compressor button there? Because I think you use the compressor too much if it's on that roadie thing.
One day we're gonna figure it out. When we're not. I believe in us. You know, tonight is really me getting back into the swing of things because you and I used to stream a ton.
Yeah.
And
we did.
So, you know, now with the market back, it's time to dust everything off and get back into, you know, feeling the vibes.
Vibes, baby, vibes. Can you feel the
Troublesome Creek says,
vibes?
did you notice the 3 p.m. BTC dump today? No, I was saying that no, I didn't, but Pedro did. He noticed, and he was just right before you came on. He was going over how he called the dump earlier today, and because he said it's going to come down in this range and then go back up. So he definitely did.
And I caught a little piece, which was nice.
Is it gonna? The question is it gonna break through this? It's right at the 15-minute, on the 15-minute chart. It's right at the 200 period moving average. I think that's going to kick off your dump if it goes down through that, huh?
Well, the problem is it's so that 200 period moving average really isn't showing any real strength. It'd be a different story if this thing was actually kind of turned on. It all depends. It is holding. You can see it holding, but the issue is we have a lot of pressure going in this direction right now to kind of push it down. So it's going to need some. Well, remember how we talked about ping pong when we first met? We're kind of, because now we've sold off, we're kind of in a ping pong effect here right now. So it just all depends on what we're going to see. We need to see a moving average hold and hold well. That 200 period average is a good one on the 15, but we need an 8 that will hold and that we can sit there and trend off of, right? Because when algorithms look, they look to see a single moving average which is on an 8. And so for me, that's what I would think it wants to see. And here's the thing: it's not that it's not finding something right now, but it needs. I mean, I don't have access to the 8. Is it plausible that I can actually pull on Dex Screener BTC? Do you know? Bitcoin.
Yeah, there'll be a bunch of wrapped Bitcoin BTCs. That'll be the same thing. Anyway, while you're doing that,
BTC wrapped ETH.
Let's see if we can add Pedro's screen
USDC.
here.
There we go. Here we go. Boom. Okay. So BTC USDC. Boom. Let's check out the 8 here, and we're going to save this. Boom. Oh snap! Jeez, good morning, Jabalones. What's up, my peoples? All right, sorry. ADD kicking in there just a second. Here we go. Watch list. Watch the main. There we are. It is in the main. I don't think this is correct.
Troublesome Creek says support at 91.2. That needs to go down.
Nope, that is wrong. I'll have to take that off. Come on.
I'm learning that Judas has got a way with words. We got a Pedro Damas
Yeah,
he's been calling Pedro Damas
of Satoshis.
Yeah, they've been.
He says, good evening, Chumbalones and Chumbolina over here.
Chumbolinas. Give me the crown. I like that.
Welcome to everyone watching us on Rumble. Appreciate it. We're really, last night we had over 200 people watch us on Rumble. Tonight, a little shy of that because we're at 7. Actually, we've already had 23 views or so, so that's pretty good for Rumble at this time.
And if you guys can do us a quick favor over on Rumble, please hit that like. But if you guys are watching us, and if we have any of our people over there in Rumble area land, we're going to talk about something that's actually happening right now with Rumble, with Michael Saylor as well. Michael Saylor is doing some stuff. With Rumble, trying to help them set things up with BTC, and it's going to be really interesting. Oh yeah. I send that? I think I sent it to us. Microsoft helps streaming platform Rumble. Yep. You'll see it's the third or the first one that I sent you there. You can
Michael Saylor is a busy guy right now.
Yeah, you just all you sent was the message from Watch Your Guru, not an article.
Right, but it's really not much.
I pulled the article up, and it's really short and sweet. The CEO of Rumble, is contemplating and kind of put it out there. Should Rumble add Bitcoin to its balance sheet? And here comes Bitcoin Jesus, Michael Saylor, coming on in and saying yes. And he slid into his DMs, literally said, "I'm DMing you now." Now, this past May, I know I've mentioned it here to you guys that I went to the MicroStrategy Conference World 2024 out here in Las Vegas. I had the pleasure of listening to a 2-hour presentation about that there is no second best to Bitcoin, specifically from Michael Saylor. So he's got a message out there, and it looks like the stock actually rose today because of that conversation online between the two of them.
Oh, that is awesome. I could only imagine, especially the fact that he's going in and he's really connecting with people on an intrinsic level. I mean, it's, when you say, oh yeah, you should do it, and this is how you do it, versus let's meet up and let's talk and I'll explain the reason why. And when you have that, the belly connection, the face to face, the touched hands, it kicks off, like oxytocin and dopamine, and especially the way he communicates about Bitcoin. He's so passionate that he could win anybody over. It's you should call him. Bitcoin Paul the Apostle, in a sense, right? Like he is.
We just need to ask Judas to make up the name because he's great at that.
Need to call him something because he has such a way of getting people just to. He went and talked to Tom Bailu. Tom Bailu is a billionaire, and he got Tom Bailu to throw almost a majority of his wealth into Bitcoin. And now, Bailu's like 30% of his wealth now has gone up. I think he bought it at like 50,000 area, 40,000. And now it's almost doubled in like 4 years. So versus losing half of it, like many other people who I had a friend who literally became a millionaire.
Wow.
And kept that money in fiat and lost 40% of it, 50% of it during COVID. And Bailu threw the majority of his money into Bitcoin, and obviously he lost quite a bit on the bear market, but now he's doing great. And whereas the majority of people kept their money and literally the dollar, lost a lot of purchasing power, through inflation. So it's one of those things that's really interesting. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? That connection that he has with people.
It's beyond just the passion and the logic and the reasoning behind that, because, there's a ton of people out there that I think can be very persuasive, but he puts his money where his mouth is. To go ahead and do a $4.6 billion addition to his bankroll and to facilitate conversations as much as he does, I think that's why his message travels far.
Go ahead, Tom. What you were going to say? I saw you were about to say something.
No, I was sending a message to Mrs. Striking.
Oh, so I think what's really interesting to watch him interact with people. For me, it's not. I don't even think it's really about. Well, it is. It's because he puts his mouth where he puts his money where his mouth is at. That he has so much power to persuade any entity, any person that really is considering even thinking about it. You'd be like, look, it's the real money. Like, it's the real thing.
I agree with that.
And he nails down the points. Like, like when you nail down points on logic and you back it up with emotion, it's a win-win.
When I was at that conference, we also had Anchorage Digital. I think the circles that he runs in and who he attracts to him become a whole solution when a company's deciding whether or not they're going to create a Bitcoin treasury on their books. Giving them the ins and outs and speaking about the business aspects and its impact for growth, scalability, for how you can interact and transact. Bitcoin is one thing, but then MicroStrategy, their superpower is business intelligence tools. And so he's also building, I think it's Project Orange. And so it's a Bitcoin signature kind of root signature system that is for emails to make sure that you avoid being susceptible to phishing scams. So I see that not only is he out there creating that message, but he's also taking a look at what he can integrate in terms of the adoption of the technology to create that impact that he believes in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's one of those things that just really, he, like you said, he just draws people who really want to develop things within the market and really want to set up. And because he has literally an infinite money system that he actually brings to the table, it gets people excited. I think it's an interesting thought as we keep moving forward. I wouldn't it be dope if he actually made, and it's going to sound crazy, but it would make complete sense. And he could, because he has the background behind it. If he was to make, let's say, Sailor, the SEC like head, wouldn't that be crazy? Like that would just be nuts.
Pedro, there's a good chance that in one of the Texas elections, the incumbent Republican lost his primary challenge to what's his name? He's a gun YouTuber. I can't remember his name. I don't know what. I watch his channel all the time. Anyway, and he's very knowledgeable about firearms. Ran for his seat, almost beat him. Caused the guy to have to raise like $75 million just to defend his own seat in the primary. He's actually might lead the ATF. So they're going to go from putting a totally anti-gun, try and close every gun dealer down guy in it, to just taking someone right out of the industry and putting him as head as the ATF to say, let's fix this up the right way, not try and be a dick face like the guy.
Do you think Congress is actually going to be able to pass that with even,
who knows? But he's getting, as you may suspect, he's getting a bazillion votes on Robert Kennedy's website. Because on Kennedy's website, he's having people, vote for different people to put in. And maybe you pull him right out of industry and put him in.
I'm curious. I want to know your thoughts on that, Miss Carmen. What are your thoughts on that one?
Listen, I'm such an idealist. Like, I have no ties to some of the political talk, but I feel like the news is coming so fast, and we can't forget that he also, in his last presidency, appointed everybody and then fired a bunch of people and then started blaming things when things went wrong, right? I think as I was flipping through and trying to get, as I was trying to get through news and headlines and notifications on the phone today, did we get Dr. Oz appointed to some position?
I hope not. Like, he's a crackpot.
I could have sworn I saw a headline where now I got to look it up because
be prepared for a loud noise in your ear. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time.
Oh yeah, Dr. Fire Chicken coming in the house. What's up?
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Fire Chicken, Dr. J, Kumger, and the other names.
Kumger.
The $10 donation. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. As always, the super chats. And over on Rumble, they're called rants. The rants go to help our show improve and become better and pay the huge speaking fees these guests of ours have on the show. We had to bribe Carmen to come on the show here. But anyway, thank you, Chuck. We really appreciate it. Your continued support. You're making me think that we should have a membership platform like Patreon or Rumble Premium or something like that.
Yeah, it's getting to the point where we're getting some real cash, and it might be smart. But here's the thing: we're trying to get heads, right? So it's like when they do that, it helps the algorithm. If they put money here, will it affect us on the algorithm?
The rants, the super chats definitely help the algorithm. Fire Chicken says buying his airtime. Yes, you can pay for airtime too. If you were to donate some money, we would tell Dar Baby stories all night.
Dar Baby.
Okay, so I wasn't crazy. Dr. Oz is being nominated for Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
Well, that's a miserable job.
There's a reason why. I mean, think about it. I guess you could mess that up. I mean, some of the stuff that he was talking about, dude, I was like, what? Like he runs in a state that he's not even freaking like, he's not even living in it. And I was sitting there just like, what are you doing, dude? Like, and then some of the things that he missed connecting with people within the state. I just don't understand him. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
I think we just got to prepare ourselves for the make it make sense moments and, roll with it and see what happens.
That can't be real. Like was he placed in it or was he proposed? He's proposed. He had to be proposed. There's no way.
This is one of those things that's kind of near and dear to my heart because of what I do, right? I'm constantly working on helping seniors in California find placement. And systems and programs that are in place through the Medi-Cal, Medicaid, Medicare, the generations and the ages of those generations and the population and the volume of people who are needing these services sooner than later. If any of this messes up, I mean, that's a huge impact to aged communities and their families. I mean, there's already a lot of pressure on the normal family home to make ends meet, to pay for things. And then Tom, you mentioned it yourself, you've had to go through placement for a senior family member, and it's not a fun experience. And sometimes their cost is double what your individual cost is. And so to eradicate if this ends up being a person in charge that's going to create chaos in the system or take away programs, that wouldn't be a good thing. So I think we all just have to be hopeful that the right people are in the right places and that they do the right things. But definitely some concerns there.
Well, I can tell you for sure there's going to be a lot of haters in a couple of months here because with the concept that they want to shrink the government by a third, it's not necessarily eliminating programs. It's also doing more of the pushing things back to the states type thing. And so a lot of times the agency might disappear, but the money to fund that agency will be pushed to the states to do the same thing, because states, the U.S. is a vastly different place from state to state, and a lot of things are good at the federal level. A lot of things are not good at the federal level, like the Department of Education. I think that whole fucking thing should be scrapped and just start over with that. They put too many things on regulations on schools and stuff that are just not applicable everywhere and for every student. And they need to stop holding purse strings as blackmail to get schools to do exactly what the federal government wants. When local schools will say, we've got a lot of kids here, immigrants from Mexico here. They don't understand physics. They don't understand or might not understand that until they have a lot more language education. So we got to do a different curriculum so they won't pass these tests in 5th grade until they get their language up. And so there's a lot of things like that. And there's going to be a lot of cutting, because when you cut anything, like at Twitter, when Elon came in and took 90% of the employees out, if you can believe that, 90% of the employees, he said, get out. And Twitter was terrible for about 8 months or so. Things were breaking all the time. They got rid of, streaming just disappeared one day. He's like, it's not working great. It'll come back. And then a couple of months later, it shows up and it works great now. And a lot of other things. He got rid of, like 50% of their data servers or something like that. It's, doing all kinds of things. It's going to be more efficient. And then he released the code to everybody so everyone could look at the code and say, oh, it's much more confusing here now, and it's better here, and he got a lot of help for it. And now X is great. We all use it 1,000 times a day in crypto, and there's a lot of other industries using it too, and stuff like that. So when he does that to the United States government, it's definitely going to break. Something's going to break. People are going to be outraged. Social Security checks will not make it in time or whatever. Something bad's going to happen. But down the road, perhaps even after Mr. Trump is out of office or long in the earth, the U.S. government will most likely be a better functioning place. They have to get rid of 95% of people that call themselves policy writers. And every department has tons of them. Director of policy, assistant policy director, all they do is try to make new policies so they can get promoted. Because if you don't write any policies and get them approved, you don't get promoted. And that's how we end up with a book of regulations that's 40 times the size of any other country.
I mean, I have a little bit of a hot take in terms of when I heard that, there were going to be 2 people heading the Department of Efficiencies, right? Government efficiencies, but we need 2 leaders. But as we roll through, I think that there are definitely some agencies and branches that are over flooded with just people that may or may not be effective at getting anybody across the finish line. But then I think that there are also entities within our government that don't have enough people that we just assume are big, huge entities. Coming into the blockchain space, the financial tech, I literally thought the SEC was like a huge, number of people that dissect through all these documents, find all these things, and it's really not that big. It really is not that big. So I think aside from just eradicating positions to hit that goal number, I think we need to also balance out where some is lacking, the power of people on the team, and then let's regroup them in other places.
That's another thing Elon said when he was about redoing Twitter into X, was that he did identify a lot of good employees that were in departments that he was just getting rid of. And he's like, wait a minute. And he's like, that was a good idea. I can use you over here. And so it's not just going to be, cutting like crazy. They'll look for large things that they can just dispose of and push back to the states. Look for revenues in different ways than just the current way, and other things. They're talking about. Trump's always been good with mental health. He's been good with public transit. These are all things that are generally not part of the Republican Party mantra.
As well as gay rights. Most people don't realize that.
Yeah, they've solved that problem. There's no more anti-gay rights anymore. I mean, there's no. Find a location that there's a regulation.
Most people
We're sorry, you're gay. You can't work here.
Right, but I mean, I'm talking globally. I mean, like he's fought for a lot of transgender, or I don't want to say transgender, but gay rights throughout the world. But here's the thing, and I'll put it like this. I mean, my brother's gay. One brother was gay. Well, another brother transitioned underneath Biden's during the COVID era. Dang it!
Oh, you almost got to.
But here's the thing, though, and I bring this up. Like many of them are very much like, in a sense, they don't necessarily. They're not against Trump. They're just against some of the policies that they feel as if it's been standard against them. But some of the stuff that was happening in the actual industry or within their culture, they were almost they were attached to, and many of them were like, we don't want that. we're not for it. And yet that was attached as if Trump was against it, and that a lot of things that were going against what the actual culture itself was saying was attached to him. And they're just like, no, we never won in the first place. We think the whole entire transitioning aspect behind it should be very much led into a much later age, not at a younger age. So I find that really interesting. And I know I just went on a total tangent there, but I think a lot of things have been attached to Trump that aren't necessarily correct. And there are some that have been attached to him that it's like, well, you said it, dude. So I just think it's really interesting to see what he's doing. And I want to talk about this here real quick because we do got a couple things I do want to get into, and this is only going to be an hour show here, guys.
Well, that means we only have 10 minutes left, so we'll be a little longer than an hour tonight. We'll probably go another half hour.
Right, but again, I want to make this kind of concise, and the point of it is just really kind of talk about these news sources, what our views are, and then we can move on to it. Just simply because I really want to give a well, Tom needs to sleep, and
oh, I had a nice nap earlier. I'm good.
Yeah, and I know Miss Carmen also, out of respect, you have other obligations. You definitely have to.
We also want to catch up with Carmen and hear what she's up to lately too. Okay,
so we'll jump right into that. Now, the other thing I want to talk about here real quick is what's actually happening with El Salvador. Right, El Salvador is getting its first tokenized U.S. Treasury offering, and I thought that was really interesting. So I'm gonna actually bring this up here real quick because I think it was really interesting what was actually being brought about in it. Did you guys catch it? Did you guys read through it at all?
No. If not,
nope.
Sorry.
All right. It's okay. Okay, it's all right. So we'll just go through here, and so the U.S. product aims to give access to T-bill investments for individuals and organizations who were previously unable to invest in these products. Our press release said. Tokenized U.S. Treasuries are a booming market, and now they are coming to the nascent crypto hub of El Salvador. NextBridge, digital financial solution, why is that so hard? SADCV, a digital, that's horrible. I just totally screwed that up. Forgive me.
Get the right glasses.
A digital asset issuer based in El Salvador that recently won. I do, and that's the part. I sat there and I was like, oh man, I screwed that up. I don't even know what that is. I read through it quickly, and the biggest key was this: El Salvador had that recently won digital asset services license from local regulators, has teamed up with Bitfinex Security to offer the first regulated public tokenized T-bills offering in the country. Now, we can go on to a couple of things, how much money they're going to do, a lot of stuff, and how it's connected with ETFs and what's going on. But the biggest key was this, and I thought that was really interesting. And me and you, Tom, talked about this, how everything is going to be tokenized. And this is why I keep going over T-bills. This is why we keep going over bonds, yields, because all of that is going to be tokenized and put on the blockchain. And the idea of, they call it the open outcry for the bond, for the auction for the bonds. But here's the thing most people don't realize is a large portion that are being actually absorbed by crypto projects to actually solidify their budget and literally are backing for their projects, simply saying, hey, the treasury can actually give it. And we've actually seen major entities in crypto and the digital asset world really start to step up, where China and many other countries have not, right, been the ones to step up and go through and keep buying it. We actually saw this small group of ragtag investors now becoming the ones who are actually help supporting the actual U.S. and helping it move along, even though at the time during Biden's administration, we saw almost a suppression of crypto, and it was not talked about. So we talked about that, and I thought now it's really interesting to see that other countries around the world are now jumping into this idea of being able to take part in the U.S. Treasury market in a digitized, that was so much to say, but in a digitized token offering. There we go. All right.
Hey, Carmen and I are just sitting here nodding.
Trying to bring that all together.
Yeah. Yep. Right. You got that right.
What are you guys' thoughts? Talk to me, Goose.
First of all, on the tokenization of things, it will help a lot of things. One of the things that it won't do until it has to be a lot more mature is it actually doesn't create liquidity in anything. I was reading an interesting article that our friend Anton Golub wrote the other day, and he said, remember, markets only flourish and grow when there's money behind them. If you just have a bunch of shares of a company sitting around, there's no market for it. And if you want to try and figure out somewhere to buy and sell it, there's not going to be any liquidity in there. But if someone says, I'll buy and sell everyone that anyone wants to buy and has a big pool of money, and takes a tiny little transaction for each time, then it works. And then we have something, and then you can trade your shares in somebody's watch and that type of stuff. And the downside is that the people that can do that, especially in large markets where it could be a lot of money, like real estate, are the companies like BlackRock and blah, 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 and all those companies with tons of money anyway. And soon, what they'll be able to do is just quickly buy everything. And you'll end up like in South Korea and in Sweden and stuff, in which there are really only like 4 or 5 families, and really they're just big, families of conglomerates, but they're ultimately owned by a couple of families that own everything, and run everything and do most of the employment and that type of stuff. And so it's a two-edged sword, or it's a double-edged sword, whatever it is. It's a great thing because it makes a lot of things easier to buy. It's a bad thing because it'll make it easier for a few wealthy groups to buy everything, and soon we won't own anything. Carmen, what are your thoughts on the real-world asset type thing?
I think that this particular instance, it's a great way to diversify, but when they say like, hey, this is diversification with TradFi, and that's going to help make or reduce your overall portfolio risk. But I personally think when you're dealing with new technology, real world assets is pretty new. Tokenization of anything, especially any kind of securities, bonds, or anything like that. Like it's great news to hear that something's starting. I just don't want anyone to expect that it's going to work perfectly or like the gains are going to be there. I just think it's too confident to say that this is a diversification tool, that it's going to reduce risk, because I think doing anything from our space, adding it to your portfolio when you're just TradFi only, is actually adding risk. And you really got to understand what you're walking into. And that's one of the things that we need the most, right? Is that clarity around those things. But yeah, good article, Pedro Damas.
Pedro Damas. Oh yeah, say it again.
I'm checking out the chat here on YouTube. I see Troublesome One. Did you?
Mm-hmm. But is it possible? Yes. Here's the thing. It is possible. Troublesome. This is the part that's so interesting. This is the part that and I guess I'll read the rest of the article. Opening for business on Tuesday, the new offering aims to give access to T-bills investments for individuals and organizations who were previously unable to invest in these products, basically because they were outside of the rule base for outside of America, right? Because many of Americans that have or many large institutions had access to T-bills and bonds, and so they could receive basically a dividend, a yield from that, from giving the money from America, from the taxpayers of America, and allowed us literally to be able to get T-bill or bonds or money so we can actually help with infrastructure, right? I always tell everybody, hey, bonds are important to you. Why? Because your water, your clean water, is attached to it that you poop in, you drink out of, right? And it's all bonds. Like our life is ran by bonds. We just don't realize it. The U.S. military is ran by bonds, right? Remember in the Avenger movies, right? When Captain America was sitting there and says, I got to go and sell some bonds, right? Literally, because that's how things are, right? You're protected by bonds. Our U.S. military goes out and does things because of bonds. So giving access to people who will also buy more of the U.S. bonds, who are friends of America, is good. And also it allows for allies, because when you are, i.e., invested into us, right? Look at China. China divest from us, and literally we saw them literally now starting to fall apart. And a lot of their stuff, because they've been selling bonds, they're losing equity. There's money not necessarily coming in, and their actions with Ukraine, right? And the whole entire situation with Russia is really just, it kind of made them cripple. Whereas if they would have just simply held on to the bonds, they would have had more money coming into America and literally helped themselves out.
China.
So it's one of those, into China, right? And so it's one of those things that if it helps strengthen America and also the Western civilization. And the fact that it's digital allows an individual company, country outside the US really to become friends of America and to kind of go along with the Western civilization mindset, mentality versus a socialistic and/or I hate to use the word dictatorship because they're not dictators, but they've been made president for life, right? So it's this push of, I hate to say, America's supremacy that is going to be pushed again out. And it's like, we have money for you, but we're not going to allow for certain things. And for it, it's almost like a globalization tactic that we can use to say, yeah, we got the money, you can actually take part of it. America is right about to set off and springboard into a new digital world assets, or into a new world of asset and innovation. And at the same time, do you want to be part of it? And if you do, that's where these products are going to be created and sold to. And again, they're going to be bundled in ETFs as well as other mechanisms that you can actually take part in. So it's a lot there. I just gave so much, but it was that little.
Pedro's on a roll tonight.
He really is. When I hear you talk about it, Pedro, and you're talking about these bonds and stuff, like, let's remember too that when it comes to U.S. treasuries, like, there's a whole new system in place, guys. Like, I think it was just in last year, July 2023, or it could have been 2022. But the LIBOR system for interest rates completely went away. And now we have secured overnight financing rates. And if we start to see tokenization, like, there's some advantages there, having things on chain, the old system, definitely a big no-no. Like, there was a lot of problems with, countries calling each other, being like, what's the rate today? Right? And so we've eradicated that.
Which is crazy.
In place. But then to add this new technology and start running, like, the whole system is new. So do we truly understand what the outcome is going to be? We are hopeful that we have goals. We have, anticipations of what's going to happen. But this is definitely going to be a wait and see.
I would agree with that. Ideas? What's your thought process, Mr. Herlihy?
I'm gonna pass on the LIBOR and that thing. And I'm sitting here waiting for Mr. Crypto Mike. He asked if he could shill something here, and I'm like, shill away. That's what we're here for. In between your news things, Pedro, Carmen, give us an update on what's going on with you, what you're doing in the land of digital assets here.
Man, I feel like the update is going to be everything that happened in the bear market, right? Because I kind of went away from the camera for a bit there, and now that the market's coming back, what I've done is I've really taken to the crypto streets and try to be on as many teams, be a part of as many events. Through the experience and the journey, I'm very, very proud to say that I advise now for the Blockchain Legal Institute. I also advise for a great, legal product that is AI related, blockchain related, and out there. And we're doing some really great things with AI legal wise. I recently got done, and thanks to the help of Pedro and Tom for, showing and sharing with the audience here, just got done with the Crypto Tutors Crypto for the Culture event. So, when you're not looking at charts and you're not trying to get on a pink Sully and you're not trying to degen your way into the millions, it was a great time for me to just kind of pause a little bit, find some fiat stability, and continue to learn. So, I come with a lot of just like, I saw that happen. I heard this. My superpower in this space is connecting people. And Tom, I'm just so excited that we made it here. Like, look at us now, and I think it's our hope that anybody who's coming to watch the stream today, tomorrow, I don't care if it's in a month, like, when you guys really get the news that you have to be here, I hope that Tom, Pedro, and I can be here to help guide you through that, because I think the trio of us, like, Pedro, you always blow my mind with the TA. Hands down. I have books, I picked up books on it. You and I have had the conversation. It's just it's not my vibe because I'm an energy worker, right? Like, I'll tell you whether or not we can trust somebody because they've got the details. And Tom has always just been like the greatest host. Like, if you guys are watching and this is your first time, it's this show that's the gem. Like, if you're showing up for other people in crowded rooms, you don't get a voice, you don't get engaged, you're calling out, tokens that you want to see the chart, and you just don't get seen. So it's a small crowd right now. Let's enjoy it and let's grow.
I love it.
That's right. Let's grow, and then grow some more, and then we'll all be able to retire to Las Vegas and hang out with Carmen every day.
Oh, yeah,
and then at the same time, do the same thing all over again every day, where we bring the news to you guys with some good TA and some great commentary.
I got to tell you, once the wealth happens, Pedro, I'm going to hire people. And
Definitely.
I'll just hire the guys from CNBC. You come do this.
He's not planned.
I'm out. I'm going to be out. I'm going to be in Savannah, Georgia, ordering my new Gulfstream 750 or whatever the latest one is. $90 million airplane.
Tom has done like a 5-project AMA session, like streaming to Telegram, streaming to Twitter at the time. And Facebook. I think it was like multiple Telegrams while he's in a car.
Right.
While he's in a car.
He's like extraordinary.
Mr. Striking and I were driving. I guess we were driving to Florida.
It was Florida.
Yeah.
It really was.
And I was like, I need to do this. And so hotspotted my phone, and I just can't believe it worked. I was like, it worked. The best was the TikTok you made. The best was the TikTok you made of about that event. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention. Sorry, go ahead, Carmen.
Oh, I said what I said. It's done.
Oh, shoot. I want to hear it. I just want to give real quick. Tom, nobody can type into X right now for whatever it says it's being deactivated by the issuer. So just giving you a heads up so you know what's going on. Yeah, for whatever reason, people, you can't. It says limited by broadcaster.
Oh, that's stupid.
So you can't.
Pardon my French.
All right, it's okay. It's all right. All right, so real interesting. Good old Zelensky here, President Zelensky, has now said, and we were actually going to talk about this morning, and I'm going to read this here real quick. It's by the BRICS news system. Ukraine President Zelensky threatens Russia following the launch of long-range U.S.-made missiles targeting Russia's territory. As he states, we now have the long-range Neptune missiles, and not just one. And now we have, and Tom, you always say it perfectly, the
ATAC-Ms.
Yeah, ATAC-Ms. And
Advanced Tactical Missile, ATAC-Ms.
There you go. And we will use all of them. So I sat there and I was sitting there going like, dear God, like really? Like this is really happening. And again, Tom and I do disagree with some of this stuff. He feels as if, no, I'm gonna let Tom talk about that here for a second, but I would love to know your thought process on this, Ms. Carmen, of this whole entire situation and what your thoughts are.
Who'd you address that to?
It is. Look, it is. I really don't have opinions about this that I make public. When it comes to news like this, I definitely get worrisome, very concerned. There's a lot of. I think we're on a balance. Like we could go either way, and I think that amidst the new administration, I don't know. I'm a little worried. This is getting heated like super fast, and it's moving at the speed of light when you have Biden making these decisions and then going straight for we're striking.
I feel you.
Well, as in any type of conflict, it's a chess game, but you're playing a chess with hammers, and it can quickly escalate, and that's how bad things in wars, war is bad in itself, but how wars get much worse is when a small little chain of events happen, miscommunication, bad advice, or machismo, or something like that, which obviously the aggressor has in this case, and then bad things can happen. But one of the things people talk about is would the aggressor in this send its really bad missiles that blow everything up to turn it into glass into Ukraine? And the answer is no, it wouldn't, because the winds blow back to Russia in that part of the country, in the world, and all the radiation fallout would be in Russia. It would be a horrible event for his own people. And I know he doesn't really care about his own people. Ukraine's occupying part of Russia right now, and
I was about to say, does he really care?
And he's not defending it. He's like, well, I don't need to waste resources on that. The people just leave. But there's an element of dropping the A bomb isn't just a thing. Well, I'm going to do that. It's very complicated, obviously, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Tom, you made a really good point, right? Like small actions can lead to big reactions. And when you really understand the time that somebody has, I mean, we're talking countries. If movement is made one way, the time it takes to make a decision sometimes doesn't even have everyone at the table because of that finite amount of time. And in some cases, we're talking about minutes. So if important people are not available, can't be reached, you go down the chain of command, and now you have new decision makers making these decisions.
Well, that's a good point. Well, the National Command Authority in the United States, it's the this kind of decision making doesn't follow the chain of the presidency and through the cabinets. It follows the chain through the military, and so it starts with the president, skips the vice president, and then goes to the Secretary of Defense, and then the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and then it's like who's next in line for the British throne. It goes all the way down to some dude in Zimbabwe is like, hey, I'm 20,000th in the line. And the National Command Authority is mostly staffed by career people. The new person is Mr. Trump, and he's done it before. But thankfully, we don't have to worry about Dr. Oz being mixed up in that.
Well, the velocity at which some of these military decisions can be made and the tech that they have capabilities for is so different than, if you go back into history, during the times where we have bombed other countries, it was a process. Like if you take the bombing of Hiroshima, the U.S. military had to go to the Mariana Islands, have a full-blown war, kicking the Japanese out, setting up camp, and then bombing them. The velocity at which we can make those decisions and harm each other right now is insane and intense at the same time.
It is, and we always try to link everything to crypto here, those types of bad decisions are generally bad for the economy and whole. You can't. It's tough for me to sit here and say, if you're invested in Bitcoin, it would be really good. The only thing that's going to be good then is if you're invested in physical gold and have it in your hands, or in a bunker that's well defended, because if there's no electricity, there's no crypto, there's no Bitcoin, and all that type of stuff, and other bad things happen. So even though these evening shows we get a little bit off topic on this type of stuff, it's all linked to crypto and the fact that if people in other parts of the world can make some bad decisions, or even at home here, the price of your crypto could go to zero in about a fraction of a second. Dar Baby says, I stack silver. That's good. It's readily available and precious metal.
I think one of the things I want to bring up, and obviously I'm not trying to be antagonistic in the same sense, right? But I think it's absolutely insane that Biden gave him ballistic missiles and then said, we support you with whatever you do. We already know that Zelensky is kind of level-headed and he understands. But the reality is we understand that NATO has almost, and I've talked about this, poked the bear, and now that bear is getting irritated. That bear has already shown aggression. The bear shows that it will eat its own young, and at the same time, it will also attack other people. Now, Tom, you've made mention of this a couple times where Putin does not respond to weakness. He just doesn't. So this idea that you've got to threaten him to get him to back down is something that it almost needs to happen. But for him to do this in the lame duck season, for where Trump then has to come in and cool down a fire outside, I think it's absolutely wrong. Now I understand that Russia is bombing the malarkey out of Ukraine, and there's a lot of stuff happening. He's trying to get in there before Trump because he knows that if Trump gets in, he's going to say, "Quit this. It's done. This is stopping." So he's trying to get this going. So I can understand to see that side of people, both sides fighting and trying to hold off Putin. But just to send that situation, I mean, why didn't he reach more out to NATO, saying you guys need to do additional work here? Because the reality is this, and again, this idea, it almost would have been better to have NATO in the midst of that, right? Saying back up and watch Biden or watch Putin kind of backtrack and go, wait, what? Okay, you said you weren't going to do that, and more or less let's come to the table and talk. That would have been a wiser thing for Putin to do, or a wiser thing for Biden to do, versus sit there and just send bombs out into an area that it's like throwing napalm. You know what's that old saying? Nothing better than napalm in the morning, right? This is,
that smell, that smell of gasoline smells like victory.
Victory.
Exactly. That's a great line. Great line from Apocalypse Now.
But the problem behind this is that what he did there was literally just throwing fireworks in the midst of children playing and trying to act tough, which is, I think, a stupid thing to do. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I want to bring that up because obviously this is going to either escalate or hopefully die down. And I think more of the first and the second one. And that's the part that is more scary than anything. I think it was a bad idea. I don't think it's a posturing thing. I think he's really I think Zelensky will probably use that in a sense to really try to bring in support for himself. Once the bear really starts to charge. So that's what is more scary than anything.
Yeah, I think the places that he will use them is on the bridge to Crimea, that massive bridge that they tried to blow up with drone boats, but it was too large. The bridge is too well built, and I think they're going to level that thing and to eliminate the resupply of troops. And once they and they're just, I think the best thing. I mean, they're already attacking Moscow with drones, just the small ones because they have to fly, or they have small warheads because they have to fly so far. I don't think they're going to send the big missiles there because it would create a huge problem, and it wouldn't help them at all. It might scare Putin or scare the people there, but what helps them is destroying their army's logistics. Armies operate on logistics. Without logistics, you're screwed. And if they can stop that, or at least delay it for a long time until they can get a peaceful settlement to this. Anyway, Pedro, we've been going on a long time here.
One more. We got two more here, and like I said, we could talk about these just real quick. I want to talk about Howard Lutnick and what's actually going over there with him being potentially used for a commercial chief, and also Teresa Goody, I think it's Gillian, hopefully I said that right, as the replacement for Gary Gensler. So we could talk about these two things here real quick because they're kind of similar in what we're seeing today. What are your thoughts on Howard Lutnick being actually considered for the position of commercial chief? What are your thoughts?
The Secretary of Commerce is actually a quite important job, and it handles all of these things regarding tariffs, not collecting the money, but the policy for it. They've talked all about transferring some of the tax burden out of income tax and into tariffs to force manufacturers to come back to the U.S. And of course, the other side is all about, well, tariffs just increase your price. It's a direct tax on you, and that's not true. It is a tax that will have to absorb. But over time, just like the Democrats conveniently left out the story that, well, now Toyota, Mercedes, Hyundai, all these people now make cars in the U.S. And that's because we made it too expensive for them. We made it less expensive for them to do it here. Like a lot of the Mercedes on the road are made in Alabama. They're not made in Germany. And so these things do have a way of working, but you got to pick the right industries. You can't just broadly do it. I mean, we all like getting our crap from Amazon overnight from China. We all, I don't know what we do without it. But Howard Lutnick has the experience of all of these big international relationships. He can step in and into the Commerce Department and handle those relationships with other countries and policies. And he's very well connected, which will mean that there'll be a lot of exemptions. What I believe is that Trump will say, all right, 30% tariffs on everything from China, and up to 100% on some things, because that's what they do to us. But then, he'll get a visit from the Walmart lobbyist, and they'll be like, oh, well, we can exempt a fake plastic dog do, and then get another one from someone else saying, oh, okay, well, we can exempt graphic T-shirts from Vietnam, and blah 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 blah. So it'll end up like the tax code, say the tax is this high, but really after exemptions and this and that and the shenanigans, it's much lower. So, but Howard's a good person for that job. He's very well connected. He's really smart. He's brilliant. He's created one of the largest financial institutions in the world, basically from scratch. I think the value of Cantor Fitzgerald under his watch has gone up 99.9% or something like that. And he's also into crypto too. I mean, his firm manages the U.S. Treasury for Tether. And that's, I think right now it's $80 billion or $90 billion or something like that. And he's in charge. He essentially buys them from China. He's been buying a lot from China as they unload them. So it's I think it's a good pick. The Secretary of Commerce doesn't get that much headlines, and Howard is kind of a headline guy. He would have been. I think he was okay at would have been an okay pick for Treasury. Would have been a very honorable job for him. But the new guy, I don't remember his name, but they've got another guy that they're I think he's going to slot for him, Treasury, who's actually the numbers guy and can eloquently speak all of these little things, that type of stuff.
I think we need a diagram for these appointees now.
I'm sure there's a website out there somewhere that links to how much they've donated and raised and all that.
Right.
What I'm interested to see is who's going to be the next ambassador to Canada. Mrs. Striking does a lot of work with the U.S. Embassy in Ottawa, and I've met the current ambassador, David Cohen, many times because of her events, and he's a really nice guy. He's very effective. It's unusual. The past two Canadian ambassadors to Canada were ineffective and not good appointments at all. And they get a lot of work done. The U.S. Embassy there does, and in the concept of trade and that type of stuff, because Canada and the U.S. obviously a massive trading partner. So I'll be very interested to see who that next pick is, because the person who comes in. It really does matter if they're good at their job as being an ambassador. A lot of people say, oh, they're just figurehead jobs. They're not. If that person is effective at networking and meeting people in the government and doing this and getting around and being a popular person, they're more likely to negotiate with us. And we have to renegotiate the new version of NAFTA or whatever the heck it's called again here soon. And it's going to be very important in these next couple of years. So I'm very interested to see who the next ambassador is. And just as a quick fun fact, the current ambassador, David Cohen, used to be part of the NBC Universal Comcast group, and he used to run Comcast for a while. And you'd think that person would be an ogre, like the devil. And he's a really nice guy, and he gets things done. And so I found that very odd. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, you know what? I've got some time here. Subject. What I forgot to do, Pedro, is I forgot to do that advertising thing again, and I want to do that once just so we feed the YouTube algorithm here. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go on we're going to make it a 2-minute break here, and then we can get. You know what? Let's make it 3. Then we can have a little bio break and come back from that, and let the commercials run, and hopefully Rumble will auto insert them in it. So we'll be back in just a moment. Oops, wrong. All right, everybody. Thanks for letting us take a quick break here. We need to do more of that in the future. We get one of the topics we want to talk about next is that there's a potential new SEC chairman which we were really hoping for. We wanted me, or our friend Pat Dougherty, that comes on our show a lot, our Federalist / Libertarian crypto lawyer, but he's not going to get the pick. The pick is going to be someone who helped raise a lot of money for the president's campaign, and that was this person that Pedro is going to introduce us to. Pedro?
Yeah, so Miss Teresa Goody Gillian, did I say it right or I screwed up? I probably screwed it up. Basically, she has served quite a bit of time as a lawyer throughout her career, and then at the same time in security law, where she really developed and where she got her niche at. What's really interesting is her time over at the SEC between 2009 to 2011. She actually went through and served and was more. She was friendly towards crypto, and so she's really had more of a reserved wait and see, let's put some legislation around crypto so we can kind of move forward with it, so we can let it develop. And so with that type of leadership within crypto, I definitely see an opportunity for a lot of projects as well as fledgling projects that need to have some breathing room and some forgiving room as it progresses within crypto. And to watch somebody in her position to allow that versus a heavy-handed, if you make a mistake, I'm going to crush you. Gary Gensler is a really important stage where we need her to be in, right? Like that idea of saying, let's let this breathe and let's get this going. And as it progresses, we can literally kind of help prop it up and get it moving where it needs to go. And one thing about her is that I think she'll definitely be that side of allowing crypto in America, allowing America to be the primary crypto hub in the world. I think she'll help with that quite a bit.
I totally see that as well. She's already basically pro crypto, outed herself during the Biden administration as being pro crypto, and we find it refreshing from an industry point of view that someone that we want. A lot of times you want regulators, and I shouldn't come from the industry that they're going to regulate and that type of stuff. But a lot of times you need the specialty knowledge of how to do it, and to be a proper SEC commissioner and to actually do your job and not just be a figurehead. You need to understand, how to be a financial, better term, be an attorney in the financial world. And you have to know what's legal, what's not legal. You have to understand the court process, all that, so you can manage the 600 to 800 lawyers that work for you at the SEC, which was probably going to get reduced to about 50 or something like that. But it's also likely that she's going to knock off this enforcement by litigation and enforcement by regulation, by regulating and enforcing you to death. But she's going to go back to the old school way that Patrick has talked about on the show a lot, in that they want the SEC to work in tandem with industries, especially new industries. This is not going to. We talk about crypto, but the digital asset industry is far larger than that. Blockchain industry far larger. There's going to be many new products that don't fit in to the 1933 and 1934 crypto Securities Act, and we can't just say, oh, you have to conform to that thing written in the 30s or 1930s and amended over time without coming up with new regulations.
You can't be here, okay? If you don't know Howie, if you can't fit in Howie, if you can't slap hands with Howie, you can't be in this club.
Right.
Howie test.
Do we have like super handshakes, Pedro?
I think that's what it is, because they're like throwing gang signs over there. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead, Dom. Keep going.
Well, my point is that regulators in the markets, not just the SEC. I was looking at a graph yesterday about the number of regulators in the U.S. and their budget over time, and how it's grown, not with the amount of new products. It's grown with the population and with the budget. And so every year their budgets are getting bigger, they're hiring more people, and making new regulations, more policy that I complain about a lot. And that needs to stop. You can't throw infinite amounts of money at this. You have to go back and say what works effectively. What do we need to regulate? What can we let the states regulate? But more importantly, what can we do to make where the government does regulation, to put it back on industry and to self-regulate? Because a good example is the banking industry. Very regulated industry, but guess what? The American Banking Association sets most of the rules in the banking industry. And the government oversight is really just making sure that doesn't go awry. And other, successive governments have come in and said, wait, we need to change all this and do all that. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that. We're the American Banking Association. And then they say, well, we'll go to Congress and force you. And then, of course, the American Banking Association lobbies Congress, and the change that they want doesn't happen. And if the government had to fully regulate the banking industry, that'd be a $14 trillion a year budget just for that. And they have industry do it at 98% less cost. They need to do that in a lot more industries. How exactly? I don't know. I'm not a good regulator. I would be a good king, or a very bad one. I would be a bad king to the people, but in my mind, I would be king. I'd be like the dictator, off of his head.
Should I call you Simba? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Just call me king, sir. Your Highness.
Yes, or just master. Just master would just be better.
Right.
Master,
so this hopefully this appointment at the SEC will be indicative of other things, and in the SEC, the CFTC, and about 14 other financial regulatory things should be merged into one unit, the financial markets regulators, and share all the information there. Work with the exchanges and work with industry and people. Work with industry and people. That's their mantra. Work with industry, not against it. If you see crime like scams, frauds, that kind of stuff, then you call your friends at the Department of Justice and you say, we got one for you, and you refer it over and you let them do the investigation. And otherwise, it's your job to be friendly and to be happy and say, come in and talk to us. We got something. You got something new? Come talk to us. Oh, you're already doing it? Oh, well, it's a crime. No, that's not how this works. New things are not crimes. New things are new. It's a subject for a whole show that probably get 2 viewers, but I could go on for an hour.
I love it. No, I absolutely love it. I think, I really couldn't even add on to that. Simply just, I think she's going to bring a dynamic.
Kiss my ring.
Kiss the ring. By the way, when we were talking about Treasury, Judas, the back stabber, said he'd be great as Treasury, by the way.
Well, let's hear from Carmen. Carmen, Pedro and I talk a lot about this day-to-day policy and stuff like that, and what's going on. And I talk about it a lot with the crypto swamp creatures in our discussions about editing their podcast and stuff, and I listen to that. But out in Vegas, you're kind of isolated from this wonk talk, and there's a different vibe out there. There's a different talk about things. What do, in the business sense, is this thing ever brought up here? Like about the size of the government, about too many employees, all that type of stuff. Is that a topic of discussion out there?
We're a swing state. Everything is going to be a hot topic out here. I was flooded with the text messages, the polls. I thought that going to personally drop off my ballot was going to stop, allow me to go non-communicado. No, politics is a huge, focus out here in Vegas. When we're thinking about Teresa's background, I think that there is a diversity in her professional competencies that could be a good thing for us. But I think we also need to zoom out. So not only is blockchain technology, the monetization of that tech, with cryptocurrency coming around, but we also have to take a look at the other, we're at a nexus with other technologies as well, quantum computing and AI, and there's going to be a lot of what ifs, and there's going to be a lot of things. So looking at her background, her expertise lies in DAOs, DeFi, and NFTs. Pretty interesting ones to have an expertise in. I think one of the most powerful professional competencies that she has a background in is going to be the cryptocurrency tracing certified examiner. role, because I think one thing that we're going to see an abundance, a need for in an abundant way is going to be the forensics of on-chain data. And so having somebody in a place that can really understand what the blockchain is saying and be able to decipher that and know what counts and what doesn't count, instead of just throwing a lawsuit at somebody and holding that entity accountable. You know, the nexus of all this technology coming together, what if we code an AI bot to run an entire smart contract and a community, do its marketing and everything? Like, who are you going to sue? Right? The person who set the code in motion? We don't know. There's going to be a lot of what ifs as we walk into this place. Knowing that she is a professor in law, specifically on the digital, law and policy, that's a huge advantage. And especially looking at college students now, I mean, I think the American Bar Association in their AI task force had recently said that, in fact, like, AI technology is being adopted more in the colleges. It's being taught more. So you and I might be at a fiat mining job, and we may not be able to touch AI until your Fortune 500 company decides to, upgrade the software in your retail store. But students are getting hands-on with this. So we do need leaders that have kind of experience in all of this, leading the way while the rest of us kind of catch up.
Well, that's a good point. It's a good point. A lot of us, just working that back to AI, just that one small sliver of thing that, needs to be regulated at some sort. I use it every day. Pretty much everyone I know uses it every day. My kids use it for as many things as they possibly can. And but there's also the problem with things that are not really. You cannot regulate it well. Like, can someone write code, which is free speech? Sorry, Pedro, I had you off screen while you were looking up something. Which is free speech. To write code and to print it and to load it into a computer is free speech. So what that's used for afterwards, they can't tell people you can't write code. They can try to say, well, you're not allowed to export it. They tried that with PGP and encryption, when they failed, and that's what caused the famous Supreme Court decision that said your speech is, whether it's your voice or your fingers typing, is the same. And so you can't regulate that. So to your point is, I don't think they'll be able to regulate smart contracts. They'll try to regulate, they can't regulate the user because it could be the North Korean government, but they can't regulate me from launching a smart contract because that's code. It's very, that's the tricky question, and that's why the AI genie, the cryptocurrency genie, and all that, it's out of the bottle. What they should do is, frankly, just get rid of almost all of the financial transaction laws and anti-money laundering and all that, and just get rid of that whole thing and just make harsh penalties for cheating on your taxes. I mean, getting caught cheating on your taxes is already devastating. I mean, if you can make them worse, people will be like, and if you really want to catch, the drug money, just go kill the fucking cartels in the first place. You can go down, send the SEAL Team 6 in, and this whole business would be over tomorrow. That would be a much more effective thing than... That
is actually interesting. What you just said there.
There's 20 movies about it, and even the movies get it right. They're like, boop, 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 boop. It's over.
Yeah.
And we could stop it if we wanted to. The problem is that there's so many people in the U.S. that create the demand that new ones will pop up. But at least the major ones that are, I'm sorry to beleaguer this, but that keeping me from sending $600 to someone in Russia isn't the point of anti-money laundering laws and sanctions. The point of sanctions is to shut down your enemy's economy and to stop millions of dollars so they can buy weapon systems. That is, and the fact that, did you guys know, I've said this to Pedro before, but Carmen, did you know that you're committing a federal crime almost every day?
Yeah.
Did you know that you are supposed? Yes, you are.
Yeah.
You know how? Because you are not. Are you checking who you do business with on the OFAC list?
Yeah.
Every person in the United States is responsible to ensure that they're not doing business with sanctioned people or countries or agents of those countries.
Or businesses that are attached that could be potentially do business with
exactly
people on OFAC.
And in the questions and answers session for OFAC, they say, everyone's responsible for checking it. They say that there's no delineation in the law that says what categories of people you're just not allowed to do it. If you do business with it, it can be a crime. So if you buy something on Facebook Marketplace, but it turns out he's an Iranian living in the U.S. and the only way he can raise money is by stealing stuff and selling it, you've actually committed a felony by just doing business with him.
King Tom to be like, off with their heads. Problem solved.
Off with their heads.
I think this is why anyone that's at the table right now is really excited about what this technology really can do, right? Because I still want to protect my privacy, but there is a way that we can build this, infrastructure to where it's trustless, and I can just be like, hey, I want to do a $10 million deal with you. Let's touch wallets.
Right.
Let's find out if we can do business together, right? And then also too, the functionality and utility of the code to kind of like create these highways where it's just like, hey, now I tell my AI bot I want to create this kind of business. It knows who I am. It has my receipts and my birth certificate all in one place, and it just says, hey, Carmen's capable of getting this kind of loan. She's able to sign up for these kind of licenses, and this is what she's going to need to have in place. And when somebody hits that buy button, everything gets distributed, and she's not in jail.
This. 1,000%, Carmen. 1,000%. And on your end, you can say, as part of that, you can say, this transaction does not involve my name or my phone number or my email address. It just involves my verified blockchain space info here, whatever you want to call it, and your product exchanging places.
Right, and I need to be the person that decides who gets to touch that information. Troublesome in the chat had said, hey, what if like every single thing that I've done, gets put onto blockchain? That's what I'm talking about. That is completely possible. I've sat down with big companies to talk about, hey, if we're going to take 26 vitals from a selfie camera for this medical app, let's put that on chain. Let's have their vital data available. And let's create a system in which, those that are doing medical studies, instead of paying, participants who know what they're getting into, can just go into the past and get the last, 365 days of this random pool of people and have, better results, right? Because the objectivity of how you got the data. There's a lot of ways. And then, let's pay those people for that. Right? Like, let's just detonate that money to their wallets. These things are 100% possible. And when we're deciding who's going to be at the table to decide regulation, what is their background, what is their intention, what do they hold, and being at this political space of saying, hey, how long do we let these people stay? Do we want them to even have, investments? How public should those investments be? It's all connected, and we have to, any one of those steps can pivot, but it's not going to stop us from the goal. It really isn't.
Totally
Pandora's
agree.
Opened. You can't have AI without blockchain, and quantum computing, we need to catch up to quantum computing, because what humans will be doing in the future is, I have an idea and I have my bots, execute it, right?
Yep.
And that's my team.
The AI,
and everyone has an ability to do that. So great things to look forward to. I just want to remind you guys, we did say that this was going to be an hour-long session. So, I
so hard for Pedro and I to do this.
And I know it's like 9 o'clock at night, so you guys are just like, I'm just going to bed after this. It's dinner time, yo.
She's hungry.
If Mike can shield, Tom, can I shield real quick?
Absolutely, Carmen. Absolutely.
I gave you guys some updates, as to what Carmen was doing in the bear market, but what am I going to do in the bull market? I want to be the hub for all of your stories. So if you're listening, you can go to carmencrypto.com. You can see my landing page there. I want your stories. I'm creating a session called DGen Tales, I can sit here and talk about crypto. I can talk about all the experiences that I've had, but I think collectively we're more powerful when we share those stories, and it's just my favorite thing. I've been collecting stories through the bear market about people's wins, their losses, and their heroes. So you can pick one of the 3 stories that you want to give. Go to that page, click on one of the titles. It can either be a confession session, you can talk about my all-time high, or you can talk about your hero in crypto. So we want to recognize the failures that we've had. We want to recognize the wins that we've had, the sweet, sweet, glorious moments of gains. And we also want to highlight some people that, have actually done what they say they're going to do. So as we go into the bull market, I want to gather that. So take some time, hit that up, give a story out, and it could end up in a book. It could show up on a show. It could show up on my Twitter space. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I've been reading some of the stories that have come in, and I'm like, been there.
Oh, I need to do this, Carmen. I've been lacking in do this. I promise I'll get going with it and upload some stories to the hub.
I would like to personally request that you do that after Martini 5.
If I had 5 martinis. Oh, I remember what I said. I didn't explain that well last night. I didn't have 5 martinis. I made a number 5. I rate them from 1 to 5, and it's a thing between Mrs. Striking and I. Like the full martini, classic martini glass, I just call it a number 5 because it's right to the top. In Canada, you go to a bar and you ask for a martini, especially if you want it dry, you get like a number 2. And it comes out in the glass, and they would give you a glass the equivalent of this. And you're like, the glass is, there's should be up to the top for a martini, right? And they're like, oh, well, you'd have to order. No, you can't have that much alcohol. I'm like, but I can just order another one, right? Well, yeah. I'm like, well, bring me another one, and then I get it and I pour it in, so I have a proper martini. But unfortunately they charge you arm and a leg. So it's a joke. It's not that I had 5 martinis. I would drop over dead. I had one that was a number 5.
I was impressed. I heard it wrong. I was cooking dinner. I was like, martini number 5. It takes me back to the last bull run. Tom was definitely known for endless martinis. I'm just going to put that out there.
Well, we did all night. I do an 8-hour night shift broadcast because we were going 24 hours a day with our old projects. We had a couple projects. We were called the Ecosystem, and that's how all of this evolved into this. It was. The guys would take over in the middle of the day, and I would just not in the middle of the day. I'm sorry, in the morning. They'd come on. They'd be like, I'd be struggling after 8 hours of talking. I'd be like, and all night of drinking, and I'd be like, I'm so tired. But at one point, Carmen, we had 31,000 viewers at once, and I didn't know.
Yes.
I didn't know what I know today. Had I known what I know a little bit later, we would have capitalized on that. I didn't realize how valuable having 31,000 people on at a time was. And
everything was happening at light speed, and we were just doing our best, to be present, to be engaging, to answer questions, to, share whatever we knew. But Pedro, I'll tell you this, the first time that Tom interviewed me, I literally looked like I was a hostage. Like, using my web camera on like a nothing, laptop. And he was nice about it. He's like, yeah, let's go. Hit record. So
like, why are you doing this?
We've definitely done our journey, and here we are. So I'm definitely pumped. I had a good time with you guys tonight. I'm going to hold you closer to now. Tom, you can probably explain to Pedro that there's Carmen Crypto and then there's Martha. And Martha would not be sending out the articles, 2 minutes past the record time. And we will not be going past our hour budget. So, Pedro, we's going to learn. Because if Tom's not available and you're here with me, we're going to tighten your ship up.
Normally, this stuff was actually
Martha's the boss.
Well, I'm just letting you know, a lot of this stuff I do have together, but anyways, we'll leave it that alone.
No, you don't have to defend yourself. I'm more making a joke to Tom because there was this Martha. Martha was from HR. Okay, she was my alternate ego in every Discord, every Telegram. So Carmen Crypto's like, hey, yeah, we've got an AMA over here, and then Martha's coming through like, taking tallies and taking away gold stars that she put up the day before.
I'm cool with that. I actually would. I thrive underneath that because then all of a sudden I can then start adding and putting things in place and really getting going. So, I don't mind that. That's actually real dope. Then what happens is we have the ability then to pivot, and once you have a real structure of what you're doing, right? And so we can have fun with that.
And I apologize, Carmen, too. This is the first time since Pedro and I have been doing this version of the show that we had someone else on the entire time. We're used to them coming on like later into the show and leaving early as guest interviewees. This is the first time we had a full-length co-host, so we weren't cognizant of time.
Thank you for sharing the stage, guys.
Well, I think you should be on the stage. One, because it'll help with the having a Y chromosome versus, or was it X? Which one is it? Which one is the female?
Two
X's.
Yeah. It's a little slow there. Yes, right. That's why it's important to have a Y chromosome to be in the mix of these two X's over here, or four. So, it's a good thing. I think having you here and also just having a feminine touch. To a lot of times we start to get rowdy. You got a bunch of rowdy boys, and we start to like, it's almost. Like 95% of our people who watch us are all guys. So it's just we need to bring a little bit more, culture. And if that makes sense.
We're going to be very demure. We're going to be very cutesy. We're going to be
I don't know about that one, but
I know my vibe.
Let's not get crazy now.
I'm not bringing Torres. We're not having tea time. We're here to talk business, and things are going to fly really fast. I can already see it. I can feel it. Like, you can tell the difference. The news is coming fast. We're anticipating what January is going to look like with the new administration. We've got a lot of research to do. We've got holidays to get through. So I'm excited to be kicking it here. But if you're in the chat, whether you're on Rumble, whether you're on YouTube, or X, like, please share this out. Like, put a testimony to it. Say, this is my go-to. These guys are going to engage with you. You need a chart looked at. Pedro's the guy. Pedro Damas. You need a good
100%
level 5 nuclear martini recipe. Tom gotcha. And if you need Carmen to control the room with Martha, it's there too. So I hope you guys are having fun, and I really can't wait to be back. We might do this at least twice a week if I can.
Well, I am currently in a zone where I can do it every night, and I won't be every night. So we're gonna have to work on the daily versus the evening schedule here to try to do two things. This week and next will be good data gathering, so we can see where viewers are coming from and how many and that type of stuff. But we'll figure out the schedule, see what we can do, and get some, and actually try and schedule some topics ahead of time for the evening show. Pedro is very good coming up with a lot of good topics to talk about tonight. Thank you, Pedro. And we got a good discussion about it, and a couple of great viewpoints from Miss Carmen Crypto over here.
Miss Carmen Crypto. Oh yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for coming in again. I don't think I have anything to say. Does anybody else have anything to say?
Nope. Nah, that's it tonight.
Mike, vanilla tracks.
Mike, I quickly just a couple of housekeeping things. Crypto Mike, I made you a moderator for the channel here, so you can post links if you would like. You've helped us out a lot anyway. You might as well be a moderator. And he wanted to shill something. We don't have a lot of viewers left, so we'll give you an opportunity to shill tomorrow once you accept that moderator role. And you can post links.
Also, what about Dr. J?
Dr. J's he's a busy man. You can make him a moderator too, but we'll see how it goes with Mike doing it. But he wanted to be able to drop a URL in there. That's why I did that. So thank you for that, Crypto Mike. Totally accepted, bud. Thanks. All right, there you go.
There we go.
Once again,
Alrighty.
Carmen can be reached at carmencrypto.com. All of her contact, her socials, and all that type of stuff. And of course, if you want to pay her lots of money and hire her as a consultant for your project, go to carmencrypto.com. Otherwise, see her again here. Dara Baby says, good night, folks. That's it all from the Space Lounge tonight. Our next episode of DYOR Live will be tomorrow morning. I'm sorry, for Carmen, it'll be tomorrow morning. For Pedro and I, it'll be tomorrow afternoon at the usual time. That's currently the usual time at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. We will see you there. Have a good evening, everybody.